Call the regular scheduled meeting of Franklin City Council to order. Thank everybody for coming out tonight. I would please remind everybody to turn off your cell phones and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda tonight, we have a special recognition. I'm going to ask Vice Mayor to please read that resolution.
Resolution of appreciation. Whereas at approximately 2:22 p.m. on Thursday, May 17, 2018, a 911 call was received at the City of Franklin Emergency Communications Center, reporting a fire at Trinkets and Treasures at 208 North Main Street. And whereas the City of Franklin Fire Department was first on the scene and Chief Vince Holt assumed the role of incident commander, and whereas the building was located in the heart of the historic downtown Franklin district and in close proximity to other businesses on North Main Street, and whereas fires involving an aged structure are often difficult to extinguish, requiring a tremendous amount of resources because of the intensity and lengthy battle with a multitude of complicated factors, including the responsibility to protect the lives of citizens and property, and numerous other safety considerations. And whereas the outpouring of mutual aid assistance and support from throughout the region, including Franklin Fire and Rescue, Cortland Volunteer Fire Department, Carsville Volunteer Fire Department, Windsor Volunteer Fire Department, Hunterdale Volunteer Fire Department, Volunteer Fire Department Rehab, Newsom's Volunteer Fire Department, Ivor Volunteer Fire Department, Carrollton Volunteer Fire Department, Holland Volunteer Fire Department, Smithfield Volunteer Fire Department, Sedley Volunteer Fire Department, Virginia Department of Forestry, Isle of Wight County Emergency Services, Franklin Power and Light, Franklin Police Department, Franklin Public Works, and Franklin Southampton Community Development was simply amazing. And whereas, as a result of the heroic efforts of these well-trained public servants and volunteers, collateral property damage was minimized and the fire successfully extinguished with no loss of life or life-threatening injuries. Now therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Franklin that the city hereby recognizes, honors, and offers heartfelt thanks to all those brave men and women who are worthy of our deepest appreciation for their generous and heroic service in responding to this emergency. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be spread upon the minutes of the City Council of the City of Franklin this 11th day of June 2018, preserving and recording our gratitude to all the aforesaid departments, agencies, and organizations, and evidencing the high esteem in which they are held in the City of Franklin and by this City Council, adopted June 11, 2018, and signed by the Mayor.
Okay. Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to approve said resolution?
Mr. Mayor, I second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye. Nays have the same opportunity.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
And aye. And our sincere and heartfelt thanks for a job well done. I was there and saw it. That was a hot fire, and it could have easily spread, and because of y'all's efforts, it did not. In a small way, we'd like to say thank you by giving each department that's here tonight a copy of the resolution. We'll also have our chief, if any of the departments are not here, if you would please give it to them, we would appreciate it. But I'll ask Vince, Chief Holt, to come forward, and then a representative from each one of the departments that is here. If you would join me up front, I'd be more than happy to give you these resolutions. Thank you.
actually didn't see it.
It wasn't the World Trade Center. It wasn't the World Trade Center.
It took all 15 fire departments.
Depends on how much of it was. I'm telling you, it happened down.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Well, that was quick.
Next on the agenda, we have citizens' time. We've had 6 people to sign up, and so in an effort to make sure that we let everybody speak now, I'm going to ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes, if you would. Then that way we can get everybody in the citizens' time. Go ahead and then you may be excused if you would like, or you may stick around. So when you come up, please state your name and your address. Even though I have it on here, it's just a way to validate and verify. First is Ben Powell.
First of all, Mayor Rabel and members of the City Council, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I would be remiss if I didn't say that Chief Holt, I happened to be driving back into town when the flames were leaping out of the building. It's the most incredible, what you guys did was the most incredible thing. When I went by a couple days later, when you finally drive down the street, I was absolutely amazed that anybody could have done the job that you did. And so I'd like to just thank you for, again, on behalf of all the citizens of Franklin. So, I'm Ben Powell. I live at 307 Meadow Lane. And anybody that knows me knows I'm a quiet person, tries to never get involved with anybody else's business. Joe and I pay our taxes and utility bills, and we try not to be a burden to the city. Our last child graduated from Franklin High School almost 25 years ago. I don't want to really be here talking with you, but I found myself compelled to do so. I'm here for the purpose of defending my neighbors on Meadow Lane and all the homeowners in Franklin who live in neighborhoods owned single family who currently feel safe and protected in their investment because of the zoning of RO1 family residence. I'm here to say that if the current plan by Southampton Academy for use of the home of the late Haynes Byerly on Meadow Lane is allowed to go through, that safety for all the citizens, Franklin citizens, is thrown out the window. I have no connection with the Academy. At the same time, I know the Academy is a fine educational institution, and I'm very impressed that students from halfway across the world would like to attend school there. Certainly have no intention whatsoever to cause undue harm and unnecessary problems with my protest of their plans. As I understand it, Southampton Academy intends to use the home on Meadow Lane as a dormitory to house an unknown number of foreign exchange students. I'm aware of the general outline of zoning requirements, but I do not think that the use of a single-family residence as a boarding house is permitted, primarily because the specification of a family is not more than 4 unrelated individuals living in the same household. I think the wording makes it clear that boarding houses are not permitted under the zoning. Although I have yet to see it, it's my understanding that the law firm of Randall and Page are presenting a narrative which explains that the house parents will have guardianship of the children, thus making them one big family. I hope you see this as kind of a ridiculous stretch to get around the intent of the ordinance. We hear a lot today about original intent. There seems to be no argument that people who mention a family being no more than 4 unrelated people knew what they were doing, and this narrative is merely a subterfuge to get around it. I'm sure these students are well behaved and will be well supervised. However, it seems like once this example is approved, it'll open a can of worms under the guardianship ruse. This sounds mean, but suppose the academy or any future owner decide to operate a halfway house for drug-dependent teenagers. I'm sorry, things like that are needed, but why should they be in single-family areas? If the academy needs to house its students, why couldn't the $300,000 investment in the Bowerly House not be used for a dormitory on the campus in Cortland? Or is Shands Estates protected from such a thing by Cortland zoning? It's my understanding that an inquiry was made several months ago about the use of residence on Meadow Lane for student housing, and the inquirer was told that it was not acceptable. I think details of this inquiry need to be brought to light so we can figure out what happened between then and now. I've also heard that the Academy proposed such a use in a private neighborhood in Cortland, but was turned down because of lack of any provision for boarding houses in the zoning ordinance there. I've talked with a number of people who it seems should know about this since I found out about the plans, and I'm surprised by the almost universal claim of lack of knowledge of the situation. The whole thing seems to have taken place in the shadows, especially since very few of...
Can you finish?
Time's up. Okay, well, I'm asking, well, I can't really get to the gist of my argument, but what I'm asking here is for the city council to take into consideration the rights of its citizens rather than the rights of the academy to have a, make a lot of money off of these exchange students. And I don't think this is right. I don't think it's proper in this area. And I ask you to review the whole situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Peak.
Not in my name.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name is Dan Peak. I live at 170 Meadow Lane, and I guess most of you probably know I'm also chairman of the Planning Commission. I've been on the Planning Commission for over 30 years and chairman for 10 or more. To be honest with you, so long I've kind of lost count. But anyway, I'm here to address the possibility of allowing a dorm to be placed in the RO zoning district in Meadow Lane. I only found out about this when I was alerted by one of my neighbors who called me last week that apparently the academy had purchased a home on Meadow Lane with the intent of housing an undetermined number of international students there. Apparently, after I started investigating this further, the academy had been doing this also on North Drive for at least 3 years, and also has a home that they had been renting on Queens Lane, unknown number of students there. I was told by the city attorney and zoning administrator that they were unaware of these other two activities. I would, just for background sake, I would remind the council that the RO zoning district is the most restrictive zoning district in the city of Franklin, and it is intended for single-family houses. I do not believe the ordinance would allow for a dormitory use. 15 to 20 international students paying room, board, and tuition are not a family. It's a business, and a very lucrative one, apparently. I believe that the RO district would not allow this type of business to exist. You can parse words and lawyer up and debate what the meaning of is. At the end of the day, this is a business, and the proposed use is absolutely contrary to the intent of the ordinance as well as the spirit of the ordinance. And I would ask the city council to ask the zoning administrator to take whatever steps are necessary to prevent it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerry Brown?
Mr. Mayor and members of council, I thank you for the opportunity to speak also. I'm not going to reiterate everything that they have said. I just let you know that I do agree with the comments made by Mr. Powell and Dr. Peak. And I feel like the city should take steps to look into this and study it and figure out what's going on. But in my opinion, it clearly states the dormitories are not permitted in RO house and RO districts. And this is definitely a dormitory. Students will live in the house. They'll be picked up each morning, delivered to Cortland, and then they'll be brought back at night. And if that's not a dormitory, I don't know what is. Thank you.
Thank you. All in council?
Good evening, Mayor Rabel, members of the council, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Arwen Council, and I'm here as the director of the International Student Program for Southampton Academy. And I would like to read a statement that the school has prepared. Southampton Academy has been serving students and the community for over 50 years. In 2014, with a vision to offer our students the best educational opportunities possible, the Academy launched its International Student Program. Since welcoming our first student from Taiwan in August of 2015, our program has successfully expanded to include over 40 students from China, Vietnam, Japan, Korea, Thailand, Ukraine, and Uganda. These students apply to Southampton Academy rather than other schools all around the country because our school is located in a tight-knit, traditional, quiet, peaceful community. These students come wanting to experience small-town America. Their dream is to experience American culture, receive an American education, and graduate from an American high school. Students enroll in the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. Our success at Southampton Academy and our international student program has been largely due to the unparalleled enthusiasm and support that we have received from the community. Our students have been welcomed with open arms as they have participated in sports, outdoor recreational activities, they've become members of the YMCA, and they have excelled academically. We cannot thank the community enough. Neighbors have enjoyed the association of living near our students. The feedback and response has been overwhelmingly positive. In fact, most of the feedback we receive is, quote, "We didn't even know your students were there," end quote. Our students go about their lives quietly, taking the bus to and from school, primarily staying at their desks during the afternoon and evening, walking to the YMCA when they need a fitness break. Southampton Academy has full legal guardianship of each international student and the authority to name specific people to exercise that guardianship. This guardianship names Southampton Academy in loco parentis, granting custodianship of the student to the academy while the student is in the United States. Students are expected to adhere to, abide by, and follow the school's honor code, not only at school but also at their places of residence. Students found in violation are subject to disciplinary actions, including expulsion if necessary. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Bob Trainer?
My name is Bob Trainer. I live at 221 Meadow Lane. Thank you for hearing our voices on this matter. My children both went and participated in the overseas program. One went to Australia and the other one went to Taiwan. Both of those students lived inside a family and gained great knowledge of the local culture. Not to say that the program is wrong. it's admirable, but I think it fails the mark of the codes, and it also fails the mark of the spirit of the organization, which is to live inside a family as opposed to a dormitory. I don't know whether it's profitable or not. You know, that's really not, that's not really the point. But the program was originally designed as transfer students, and I think it goes all the way back to the Arkansas Senator, I can't remember his name, but he's got a famous, Fulbright, I think it's Fulbright. But I think it's unfair to push upon, first, the students, who should live inside a family, and against our ordinances, that should mean something. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Jim Council.
I'm Jim Council. I live at 621 Hunterdale Road, and I appreciate Mayor Rabel and Council for allowing us to come and speak. Before I make my comments about the Academy, I'd like to just pause and reflect on the great service that Charlie Wren has rendered to the city over these years and acknowledge his passing over the weekend. And we're sorry for his family and his hard-fought battle with cancer. And I'm sorry the firemen aren't here, but Vince is here, so maybe he can carry these remarks along with yours back to the rest. I'm a citizen of downtown Franklin as a business owner, and I had the privilege of watching the way that they responded. And it's absolutely orchestrated, and everyone knew their place, knew who was in charge, knew exactly what to do. Vince, it was just a sad experience, but amazing to watch. To watch the complementary aspects of the other fire departments that came to supplement. It was really neighbor helping neighbor. It's the best of America. I'd like to speak just a minute about the Academy's program. I've gotten to know a number of the students over the years. Not a lot and not all and not constantly. Some play golf, some go to the Y, some have been in my home. They're delightful students, and they're very, very polite. They present no risk to anyone. They're a little studious. They study a lot, and they work hard, bridging the language gap and all that. So they're in their rooms a lot. They don't go out a lot. I've never heard anyone complain about them. There have been 2 houses that have been used in Franklin so far. I called Jim Jervey, who's a neighbor of the house on North Drive, and I asked him if he would come because he has lived next to them. And he said he couldn't be here for other reasons, but he allowed me to share his remark. And his remark was that they're just great neighbors. He very seldom sees them. He tries to engage them when he sees them walking back from the Y, but they're very timid and a little reserved. And so he said, I wish I could engage them more than I have. We have had great experiences with that. I understand and certainly appreciate the residents of Meadow Lane being concerned. If they were next to me, I'd want to know too. But from my experience and what I've seen with the rest of the program, I would say that their fears would not have any merit. Certainly questions, and I respect that. But I think they'll be very pleased with the fact that there'll be good community neighbors and a great asset to the overall program. Thanks.
Thank you. Do I have any amendments to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll get into the consent agenda. We have we'll take them separately. The minutes from the May 14th, 2018 regular schedule meeting. Do I have any corrections or additions to those minutes? Not to have a motion to approve as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye, nays have the same opportunity.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Abstain?
Aye.
And aye. Then we have the May 21st, 2018, and we'll take these together, and the June 4th, 2018 call meetings.
You should take
Could you
those separate.
separate
I'll
them?
take them sepaate because
Yeah.
I think we did have some people missing. So on the May 21st, 2018 called meeting, do I have any corrections or additions? Do I have a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye. Nays have the same opportunity.
Aye.
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 And aye. And then we have the June 4th, 2018 called meeting. Any corrections or additions to those meeting minutes? Do I have a motion to approve as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by aye. Nays have the same opportunity, and also an opportunity to abstain if you were not here.
Abstain.
Aye.
Abstain due to absence.
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. That gives us 4. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Now we have departmental reports that we received on the separate cover. Did anybody have any questions for the city manager on those departmental reports? If not, we'll stand approved as presented. Then we'll get into finance. Mr. Martin, you have something for us?
Yes, sir. Mayor and council members, you have Budget Amendment 2018-15. This is a request from the school division to amend their budget, to amend the education fund to reflect additional revenues from Title 8, I believe it is. Excuse me.
6B.
Title 6B, I can't read that. Special education program, and also rebates and refunds. This was the electric refund that was provided to the schools that you previously have heard about. And the expenditures would go into the special education fund, matching the special ed revenues of $1,714. And then pupil transportation, operations and maintenance, and administration, health and attendance. The balance for a total of $129,706 in expenditures and revenues.
I make the motion we adopt.
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving Budget Amendment 2018-15 signify by saying aye. Nays have the same opportunity.
Aye.
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 And aye, motion carries. Thank you very much. Old and new business, we have school board appointments. Mr. Taylor, do you want to say anything before we get started?
Just to reiterate, we have 3 positions that you are reviewing tonight, nomination for Ward 4, nomination for Ward 6, and a nomination for the at-large seat. This would be for new 3-year terms that would begin July 1, 2018, and would not end until June 30, 2021. You have 1 person nominated for Ward 4, 1 person nominated for Ward 6, and 1 person nominated for the at-large seat.
Thank you very much. What is the desired action of council?
Mr. Mayor, I also move that we consider each one, Ms. Johnson for Ward 4 at large, Ms. Williams for Ward 4, and Mr. His name just left me.
Mr. Holt?
Holt, thank you. I was thinking about the fact, Mr. Holt for Ward 6.
It's at large.
I have a motion. I have a second.
Second.
Who's in
I have a motion and a second. Now any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye. Nays have the same opportunity.
Aye.
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 And aye, motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay. Partial property tax abatement on the IP property. Mr. Williams, is that you?
Yes, sir. Everyone hopefully recalls that we entered into a donation agreement with International Paper Company. That occurred in November of 2017. The city was able to acquire a number of properties for purposes of what we hope to achieve. We've named already as the Riverwalk Park. International Paper was current, or is current, on payment of real estate taxes through the payment that was due on December 5th, 2017. There's a new tax period beginning on January 1, 2018. Closing occurred on March 5th, 2018. We're asking council to approve abatement of the taxes from January 1, 2018 to March 5, 2018. The value of that is less than $220. I think I ballparked it at $220. I think Ms. Babb had it specifically at $219.57.54. So we're not talking about a whole lot of money, and they were paid up until December 31st. It was expected that the closing was going to occur before January 1, but matters kind of got delayed, and so we're asking the council to consider the abatement of the $219.54.
Okay.
So moved.
Can
Second?
I have a motion and I have a second. Any discussion? Everybody's quiet tonight, it seems like. All right, we have a motion and a second. We'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by aye. Nays have the same opportunity.
Aye.
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 And aye, motion carries. So we will do the fiscal year taxes of credit for $219.54. Thank you very much, Mr. Wood. Okay, city manager's report.
In your agenda, you received information about the information that was presented to the County Board of Supervisors, Southampton County Board of Supervisors. They received a report from the architect engaged to plan the new courthouse project. The City Council is well-versed and aware of the city's role. We fund a portion of the operations of the courthouse and would be responsible for a portion, roughly 30%, the current percentage of the cost of the project to replace the existing courthouse or renovate it, or whatever choice the county ends up falling down on. The report you received included all the various options to be considered for the project. It will be located in Cortland, on or contiguous to the current location. There are a number of options that would accomplish that feat. I don't really have a presentation on all of it. I'll be glad to answer any questions that I can with regard to any of the options, but I think they're pretty well laid out and depicted by the county information that was provided by the architect. The county administrator had asked through our Shared Services Committee that I present it to the council, and certainly welcome any feedback from members of council if you have any tonight or any time in the near term. The county will be further discussing this and trying to narrow the list of options down to a specific proposal at some point. That could be a variation of any or none of the ones that you've seen, at which time we'll keep the council informed about those decisions that the county makes. But obviously the voters spoken, so the location was decided. Now it's the option is to satisfy the court and the requirements of the statutes regulating development of courthouses in terms of safety and security and meeting the needs through one of these proposals or something close to one of these proposals. I'll try to answer any questions you have about any of them, as I said, but if I can't, I will get you an answer from the county through the architect.
Anybody have any questions about the presentation we received?
Not present.
Sorry?
Not presently.
They had given a tentative date for making a decision on which way.
Yeah, I think it's coming fairly soon. I don't remember if it was their next meeting or certainly within a couple of meetings. I think now or July, most likely.
I think for clarity, just to remind everybody at this point in time, we really don't have a voice in what's going to happen. So whatever decision they make, the citizens of the city of Franklin are still on the hook for our percentage of that, which is going to be roughly 30%. So I just want to remind everybody of that.
Mr. Mayor, I think it'd be good if we had, at our next meeting maybe,
we don't have too big of agenda to have this come back as a topic, instead of as part of the manager's report, where we can have a chance really to look at it, ask questions.
That's fine.
Maybe pick an option for ourselves that we can say, this is what we would like to see, and maybe
Right.
just, it's feedback. I know it's not
Yeah.
binding, but, you know,
That's all it is.
I understand.
Would anyone from the county
I was going
come
to
to-
suggest, I think it would probably behoove us to try to get Mr. Johnson to come, because I think, he's been in the throes with it. If we've got some questions, he could probably answer them. That's probably a good suggestion. Mr. Martin, I'll ask you, if you will, to check with Mr. Johnson, see about his availability at an upcoming, they'll
I'd
be
be glad
meeting
to.
the same time we meet.
Yeah, they'll meet the same night we're meeting
So
next time.
maybe the first
so-
meeting in
Yeah,
in
and
July.
by then, they may have narrowed the list, but I don't know that they will have made a decision in that time frame. I know they're wanting to work towards a decision, but
Or do we need a special call?
once I communicate with him next week, when he gets back, he's on
He's on
vacation this
vacation
week,
this
so
week.
I'll communicate with him and we'll see what works on his schedule, but it might require
Yeah,
that.
we can provide, like I said, at this point in time, it's just feedback, that's all it
If we're not going to have if they're going to make a decision before we meet again, I would be in favor of having a special meeting.
Same here.
I'd like to say that I realize it's not, we have presenting feedback, but we have people on that board, correct?
is. Not anymore.
Not, the board is finished?
Yeah.
It's defunct? Because those people that we had on our board should have represented the position of this council.
They did, and that was for the purpose of the referendum. It was not for the purpose of where they are today. Once the referendum failed, it was out of our hands from a city standpoint. And that information was shared with this council.
So how
on numerous
much is within our
occasions.
hands as far as from the state that we have to pay 30%? And it's hard to conceive up to the time that a final vote is made that we would be obligated to pay 30% of anything and have zero say in what's going on.
It's totally based on usage. And that's the pro rata share based on our usage of the court systems for the citizens of this city. So
That's correct. It will be a county-owned facility. It is their building, and they will hold title to it, and that's why they have the...
And all this has been shared numerous times with, not only with council, but with the citizens.
Yes.
About what our position was going to be or could be and what it is today, so.
Long before the vote was taken.
Yes, so.
Mr. Mayor, I can't help but believe that if we have some desire that wouldn't be seriously considered by the board of supervisors.
Well, they indicated that. They certainly would
we've
hear.
got a good working relationship.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't say we don't,
I agree.
but I agree. I think we need to, that's why I asked when are they going to make a decision? Because if we can work something out prior to their making the decision, then it would really be in our best interest to have a special call meeting if we need to. So if you would check with Mr. Johnson upon his return, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Yeah, because, they wouldn't have asked if they didn't care what we think. And,
And it's obvious, if anybody remembers, it's obvious that members of this council were in support of all of the recommendations made by the county, while other members of the county had reservations, and those reservations were not taken seriously. So I think I agree with Councilman Burgess, and as I said, I don't think that we should, think that they're going to push this down his throat. If we have some reservations and has concerns, they will reserve.
Just for clarity, I don't know what you're referring to, because the only decision, had it been made, as the mayor pointed out, was where to locate it, was the referendum. That's the only decision. These options have just been developed.
What I'm referring to is the committee that was formed.
That was what it...
The committee
recommendation.
which was formed, and the way it was brought about. None of the citizens were involved. I asked Mr. Johnson this.
Yes, there were.
Wait a minute, did you, first of all,
There were members of the
Mr.
community on the committee.
I'm not going to go back and forth with the city manager. I'm a councilman. Now, I'm saying that there were reservations and questions that were not addressed when Mr. Johnson spoke. For instance, that committee was formed of 15 people, and there were several questions that could be referred to in the minutes that there were no answers to. There was no input from the African American community at all in the design of any of that. So what I'm saying is there were questions that had no answers to, and we moved forward when the only thing that was decided was the location on the referendum. But our input into this facility, just like they had several meetings regarding this, they ignored input from citizens from Southampton, because I went to a couple of the meetings. And the people had asked, can we consider a two-story building? Could we consider?
Mr. McLemore, you're bringing up old stuff at this point in time. We're going to move along with this. We'll ask you to please check.
Yes, sir.
In the meantime, each member of council has a presentation that was presented to the Board of Supervisors at their last meeting. We have the opportunity to review it, look at it. If you've got some questions, feel free to bring it up and have that meeting with Mr. Johnson. Thank you very much. Moving right along.
Okay. Just want to remind council that tomorrow evening, we have scheduled at 6 p.m. and we will have food prior. For those that can get here about 5:30, we should have food available. In the second floor conference room, we'll have the Planning Commission and City Council, a joint work session to discuss related regulatory ordinance changes to try to spur economic development and investment in the community and growth. That'll occur at 6 p.m. tomorrow, and then at 7 p.m. on the 25th, we've already begun advertising the public hearing, which will be a joint meeting of the City Council and Planning Commission to consider ordinance amendments that the Commission has already recommended to City Council, and those have been presented to the City Council previously. Just a reminder on those. You have included in your agenda package information from the Franklin Business Center Economic Impact Report for 2017. I think the council member representative, Councilman Burgess, is going to comment on those during boards and commissions, unless you prefer to do it now.
Oh, wait.
Okay. All right. I'm pleased to report that the state's Department of Environmental Quality has formally approved the city's corrective action plan that was submitted in late 2017 in response to the wastewater treatment plant consent order issued last May, in May of 17. Approval was received in late May of this year, on May 25th. At the last council meeting on May the 14th, the regular meeting, we had a number of work sessions and special meetings, call meetings, but at the regular meeting, Mr. Ralph Vincent Jr. spoke during citizens' time concerning a vacant duplex located at 714 and 716 Bowling Street, adjacent to his residence. Community Development Department investigated it very quickly after the meeting, and based upon their inspection, moved to have the structure boarded up due to its condition. It had obviously been entered by someone, vandals or whoever. It was determined that the owner is listed as Weinberg Properties, LLC. This is another property under the control of Mr. Lee Barnes, who has been to the council previously, and he has other properties in the city, including the 4-unit boarded-up building in the 500 block of 2nd Avenue. The city incurred costs of $950 on the Bowling Street structure for the immediate actions. Last week, it was reported by Mr. Vincent that someone had re-entered the structure, so Community Development has taken steps to, again, have it reboarded and do whatever else to try to secure the facility. And we've alerted all agencies to be on the lookout for folks attempting to enter the property again. And they're moving to incur compliance with our mowing regulations in terms of weeds and grass also is in violation, and the property owner has been notified of that as well. Be glad to answer any questions, but it's been a practice to try to report back to you on significant items of this nature when they come to the council. If there are no comments or questions.
Yes. I have one. Basically, it concerns me about the individuals who own property outside of the city or even in the city. The grass situation, I think we need to change that, because there are a lot of properties that there's high grass in communities, And I know we have a tool in place, a process, but I think that process with the raining, the grass is still jumping. I think we need to change that. We need to look at changing that to take swifter action, especially during the summer, because the grass gets out of hand. I can take you to several where the grass is almost 6 feet high, but we're working on it. But until they respond, the grass is still growing immensely.
I agree with you, Mr. Johnson, but I would also say that we have the same problem with properties that are owned by the city. There are city properties that the grass is growing extremely high that should be cut, and ditches included. So before we start penalizing citizens, I hope we kind of clean up our own back door. That's just my concern.
Okay. Next, did want to give you a further update on the Riverwalk Park properties. As you recall, the city attorney just presented to you the wrap-up, if you will, for the IP acquisition that was completed previously. The site of the former Cavalier Auto commercial property adjacent has been offered for donation as well during this process and being acquired with the balance of the state grant funds. I'll defer any questions on the status of that to the city attorney, but I think he's getting very close to having all the pieces in place to close on that in the very near term. Do you want to add anything, Taylor?
The only thing that we're waiting for at this point is an actual appraisal. When we dealt with the international paper process, international paper acquired an appraiser to appraise the property. And we used that appraisal for their donation. This one is a little bit different. We're procuring the appraisal ourselves. I should have that in hand by the end of this week. I was told we would have it by June 15th. With that, we'll be able to submit everything to the foundation and hopefully be approved for the reimbursement that Mr. Martin spoke of just a minute ago. So I'm optimistic.
And the last item on that I want to report is a report for the public's sake. The staff has received notification last week of the latest grant cycle from the state budget. That aspect had been finalized to a point that they've now released the terms required for applying for additional grant assistance. And we'll keep you updated, but the application deadline's coming quickly. July the 19th of 18 is the next deadline, and so we're going to do our best to meet that deadline with trying to acquire additional funds to move forward with next steps, planning and design of the project and development of the project eventually, at least the first phase. The Jones Garage demolition, I put in here the status, but I'm pleased to report it over the weekend. The contractor jumped on it and was able to finish it. I haven't gone out and looked at it myself, but from what I gather, it's a significant improvement. So congrats to our contractor or not our contractor, but to the owner's contractor who was able to take care of this in swift order once all the clearances were there and they had all the permit requirements and pass the various state requirements before demolition can occur. So that's good news. I also, council had asked that I at least monthly get you a top priority status report. I'll be glad to answer any questions on that, but I won't read the entire thing unless there's specific questions or comments. I'll try to do this at least once a month, to keep you up to date on the top priorities, and then quarterly, as agreed at your last session, bring back the entire list to keep you up to date on the rest of the items.
Question?
That concludes my report, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I think when we, is this report right here in lieu of our report that Councilman Cutchins came up with?
No, the agreement was you wanted these top three or top priorities to come every month, and then quarterly, as I understood it, the rest of the priorities, the report that Councilman Cutchins helped design.
I think we can still put it on that form.
Yeah, I'd like to see that
Yeah.
form.
Yeah,
monthly.
I'll have them on
Yeah.
that, but this won't replace that, but this
Okay.
is just,
I just want to make sure we're going to get, because that summarizes and keeps it focused on where we are. This is good to know, but I need to just pinpoint every month that we see that report with those items on there,
It's just on the top page.
just in the top.
Okay.
And you don't have to put it in verbiage, you can just use your red, your
Okay.
signals.
Oh, okay, all right, I see
Yeah.
what you're saying, not the whole report updated, just
those
those
three.
three.
Right.
Okay. All right.
All right.
I misunderstood.
I think that's what everybody was looking for.
Yes, yes.
All right, any questions for Mr. Martin? Before we get into councils and reports on staff on boards and commissions, I want to echo something that former Mayor Council said about Mr. Charlie Wren. You know, we were all saddened this weekend to find out about his passing. For those of you who remember, he served on the city council for several years. He was very instrumental in the work done at the business center when it was called the Incubator. I had the privilege of serving with him for over 25 years on the Bronco Federal Credit Union Board, as well as having the opportunity to work with him on several projects over at Union Camp / International Paper. He was a true gentleman, and our sympathies go to his wife, Roberta, and to his family and grandchildren. So please keep them in your thoughts and prayers, and we thank him for his service to the city. Couple other just quick updates. Our own FSEDI Executive Director, Amanda Jarrett, received a Millennial Award recently, so congratulations to you, Amanda. Job well done. And I, along with FSEDI and Mr. Martin, had the opportunity and pleasure today to attend the Entrepreneurial Excellence Award, in which Mike Smith and Lauren Davis received an award, one of the 15 in the Hampton Roads area, for their work on Main Event. So again, congratulations to them, and if I would ask Ray and Linda to please pass along those congratulations. Thank you very much. So we do have some good things going on, which is good. So now I'll turn it over to reports on boards and commissions. Anybody have anything? I know you want to go ahead, Ben.
I have a report on the Business Center, and I guess I know we all see it, but I see it firsthand as being on that advisory board. The work that Charlie Wren did start, he was instrumental in having the Business Center come here, Incubator, along with the leadership by Mayor Jim Council at the time, and it's really put us on bringing in new businesses and successfully bringing businesses into the community. You have an economic impact report. We have 136 full-time employees that work in the Business Center, and these numbers are after High Grounds has already exited, so this does not include their numbers. And we have $150,000 in client rent that's been paid and $36,000 in taxes paid to the city. We have $10 million in business profits that are being generated out of the Business Center. And we just approved a new client to come into the Business Center, Pioneer Industries LLC, which is a contractor doing business for ST Tissue, and maybe some of the other businesses of that size. It's going to be a real benefit to the community. So we were pleased to get that application. And then a couple other things. When we projected the loss of High Grounds, we thought our occupancy would drop to 40%, and I'm glad to say that now that they're out, we are at 69%. So our staff has done a really good job of getting out and beating the bushes and getting new businesses to come in, get started in there with ones like Pioneer Industries, and being able to keep our occupancy up at 70%. And we're meeting all the time, approving new people, so I hope our occupancy will continue to rise. So that's a positive thing. We have about 13 or 14 people that we're talking to presently who are potential new clients. So we keep a list of 12 to 15 people that they seem to keep banging on the door about, are you ready, are you ready? And there is a process that everybody has to go through before they can come into the business center. They have to do a business plan. They have to meet with, can't recall his name right now, Jim Carroll from the Small Business Development Center down in Hampton Roads. He comes down and meets with them and reviews their business plan, pokes holes in it, sends them back and says, hey, you need to fix this or that. Well, our idea is we want everybody to be successful. It's not to pick on anybody, but finding places where we really need to improve on their business plan. Because if you plan, you will be successful. That's the kind of the goal behind it. So I think we've got a good thing going over there, and I'm real pleased with where we are and the staff and the improvements that we're making, and hopefully we'll continue to see progress coming out into the city, which is a good thing.
Thank you, Mr. Burke.
Well, I got one more. The utility study that we did, and we had a committee running, we now, last meeting, or one of the last meetings, we appointed Bobby Cutchins and myself to that committee. We met this past week, and we are going to meet about twice a month. We want to get this thing to the end, either with or without a decision, probably looking at having things, formal presentations made and decisions made no later than December, hopefully before then, so we can either put it to bed or move forward with it. And so we've got a good committee. We are looking to add a citizen from each locality. Tom Jones was on our committee before, so we were asking him to participate. Southampton County is now looking for their person who can add some value to our committee, and hopefully we'll be able to come back with some recommendations and to hear input.
Which
shortly.
electric committee is this you're referring to?
It's the storm water, the water and sewer. It's not utility as in electricity, it's the water and sewer. Sorry. And that's my report.
All right, and thank you for your work on both of those. It's much appreciated. Thank you for doing it. Other boards and commissions, anybody?
Well, we had the HRPDC and HRTPO meetings. The biggest things that came out, the budget for both of the committees were passed. HRTPO did we were mentioned that they were going to be beginning to do a study on 58. That's going to be, that's in the process, that's going to be a term off, it's a ways off still. In the HRPDC, a Mr. Murray, and I may mispronounce his name, he's with the Virginia Economic Development Partnership. He gave a presentation, the meetings were quite lengthy, but he gave a presentation on everybody ought to have their shovel-ready sites ready for development. And I think that goes right along with a lot of the talk that we've had here the last couple of meetings about things being ready. So that was it.
Okay, anybody else?
If I could, Mr. Mayor, first I'd like to mention that the downtown commercial rehabilitation loan has, a second loan has been completed and recorded, and the monies have been used for repairs to a downtown building. There still is some money available, so we're trying to encourage people that have a desire to rehabilitate their buildings, make additions to the buildings that are, actually it's in the city, I'm sorry, it's not really a downtown function, but the two loans that have been given so far have been downtown, so I tend to think of it as downtown. I'm sorry for that. In any event, we do have some money still available for additional loans. The maximum amount, I believe, is $35,000. So we're open in the lending business. The second thing I want to talk about a little bit is SIPSA. I know everybody just perks up when I start talking about SIPSA, but we are in a bit of a crisis at this time. The country is seeing a crisis as far as recycling. In the past, the biggest market for recycling has been China. China has changed its processes. They are rejecting a lot of the recycled products. And when that happens, you have full containers of recycled materials that are sitting on a dock in China that have to come back to the United States, and there's very little ability to recycle those items when they get back to the United States. And it creates quite a loss for the companies that are doing recycling, that bundle it all up, that put it in the container and then send it over to China just to have it sent back. They have to pay the freight coming and going. We are seeing some struggles in the marketplace as to what to do with recycles. And that, for me, is concerning, and I think for the community should be concerning, because what do we do with all the recycles that we've worked so hard to collect, and now they have no place to go. So that is a change that we are seeing in the business of waste management that could impact everyone. So just want to bring it to everyone's attention.
Thank you. We've got HR TAC and Harumpha coming up. I still get a charge out of that. Coming up next week. But meantime, I would like to encourage all the citizens to take full advantage of what's going on downtown. We've got Farmers Market is in full swing on Wednesdays, along with the cruise in on Wednesday, so that's a nice opportunity to get out and about. And then we've got We Be Jamming, and hopefully the Marines will continue to hold off. So I would encourage everybody to get out and participate in those events if you can. Thank you very much. Anybody else have anything else?
Mr. Mayor, I have one other addition, if I could. I was a little remiss. We have a board member from the Business Center in our audience tonight, and I wanted to recognize him because he brings a lot to the table, and that's Chuck Gadden, and we appreciate all that he does for the Business Center, participating and coming up with good input, so appreciate that. And the final thing is we're having a public hearing and a meeting on the the ordinances. Can we have those sent back out as to what we're going to be considering? We've had a lot of them over a period of time, and
Okay.
not sure
Before
we're in the 25th.
Yeah.
If we can have them sent
okay.
back out,
Right, okay.
so we can read them and make sure we know what we're talking
That will be included. You want to, let's get them out ahead of the agenda if
Yes,
we can.
please.
Please, get them out so everybody can have an opportunity to look at them. If you would. Thanks. That's a good reminder. Thank you very much. Okay, does anybody else have anything for the good of the order? If not, well, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session.
I move that the Franklin City Council meet in closed session to discuss appointments to boards and commissions, to discuss a prospective business or industry, or the expansion of an existing business or industry where no previous announcement has been made of the businesses or industries' interest in locating or expanding its facilities in the community, and consultation with legal counsel regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711, A1, 5, and 8.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye. Nays have the same opportunity.
Aye.
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 And aye. We're going into closed session. Thank everybody for coming out tonight.